Welcome everybody. It's 7:30 here local time, so I think it's time to begin. My name's Professor Tim Campbell. I'm a visiting professor of international management at the University of Northampton, and I also look after the MBA program for the Middle East intake. And so I teach on this program, so it's my pleasure tonight to be able to tell you a little bit more about it. What we'll do is I'll just take about 15 minutes and I'm going to, no more than 15 minutes, and I'll give you a short presentation about the Northampton Executive MBA program, and then I can answer any questions that you've got. So let's get started. Just before I talk about the University of Northampton and the MBA program, just a very short word about Stafford. Because Stafford's the company that would have gotten you to the webinar tonight, that you would have been dealing with the academic consultants there. So I just think it's just important that I just mention a word about what Stafford is and what it does compared to what the university does. So Stafford is the very first provider of distance learning education in the Middle East. What, 28 odd years ago now it was established. And Stafford has 6 university partners, and I'm sure you've had a look at the website and you'll see there are programs all the way from certificates all the way up to doctorates. And what Stafford does, it offers partner universities marketing, student recruitment and administration, student support, these types of services to help the partner universities locally. So for the University of Northampton's MBA program, it markets and recruits the program here in the Middle East for this intake, because it will be very difficult for the university to do that from its campus in the UK. So that's what Stafford does, but you must remember that when you're on the program, when you're enrolled directly with the University of Northampton, you're a student entirely with the university, and you're awarded the degree solely from the university itself, and all of the academics come from there. So just a word about the difference between the two companies. And let's get on to Northampton then. Northampton is a town in the UK. There's a big arrow pointing to it. It's about 100 miles north of London. And it's an old historic town, been around for an awfully long time. And it used to be on the outside of the town was the University of Northampton, but the new campus opened just a couple of years ago now. And it's now right in the middle of the town. It's inside all of that red dotted area. So it's a fantastic new campus with really state-of-the-art facilities. And interestingly, actually, all very much geared towards blended and online learning as well. It has all the technology in place. And this was, of course, before the whole COVID pandemic came about. But in Northampton is where you find the university. You can have a look at the website and you'll find out all about the university itself. But just some very broad information, if you like. Education in Northampton dates back an awfully long time, to about the 13th century. But the modern University of Northampton's origins begin about 100 years ago, when it was a technical college at some stage, and is where it is today, with about 14,000 students and 1,500 staff. And one of the most important rankings that the university, well, there's 2 rankings that the UK government does. One is for research and one is for teaching. The Teaching Excellence Framework ranks the UK universities gold, silver or bronze, depending on their teaching quality. And University of Northampton has the top award, the gold. And you'll see on the MBA program with the teachers that you'll come into contact with in each of the modules. They are very, very good. But let's get on to what we're really here for, and that's to talk about the Executive MBA program. Now, there are 8 modules in the program, and starting from the top left of that slide, you begin with critical issues in business, which talks about the critical themes and pervasive issues in business today. It's more like an introduction module, really. You begin with that, and then you make your way along, managing organizational behavior, which is the module that I teach, and then carry on, finance, etc., until you get to the end where you do a business research project. And some of you can think about it as a dissertation, if you like. Some of you might be more familiar with that term. So there's 8 modules in total. It's a nice mix of traditional MBA subjects such as finance, accounting, HRM, marketing, etc., and also some contemporary issues we deal with, leadership and critical issues in business. You do things like risk, sustainability, there's innovation, these types of things as well. So you basically make your way along each of those 8 modules till you get to the end. And it takes about 18 months in total to get from the end to handing in your business research project. So the length of the program. And each of those modules, has a workshop attached to it. And these are 2-day workshops. So if I go back to that previous slide, let's say you start with critical issues in business. When the module starts, you'll do a workshop, a live workshop, face-to-face with your tutor on a Friday and a Saturday, which is the weekend here in the Middle East or here in the UAE. Now they're being taught virtually at the moment. There was a time it was face-to-face in a classroom, but of course, because of COVID, we've had to move to the virtual classroom. But apart from that, everything's the same. It's still the same tutor, you're still taught in the same way, it's synchronous, it's live, you're in a classroom with other people, it's just virtual. So the module starts with that teaching on the Friday and the Saturday. And then after that, you'll use the online virtual learning environment to work on your assignments, you'll hand them in, and then you start the next module, which also starts with a 2-day live session with your tutor. So that's the way it's split up, and then you make your way along. So as I mentioned, there's 8 workshops, 1 for each of the modules. They're 2-day weekend workshops, the Friday and the Saturday, and they're about 10 weeks apart. So you do critical issues, the next intake starts in November, then about 10 weeks later, sort of late January, early February, you do your next module, managing an organizational behavior, and etc. Make your way along. So the next start date is incredibly intake 28. So we have 3 intakes a year. So we've obviously been, the Middle East program has been running for a long time now. And the timetable will be out in the next week or 2. And your consultant at Stafford will make sure you get that timetable. So you'll see exactly when the workshops are and when assignments are due and all that type of thing. So that's the program. What happens in these workshops when you're with your tutor in the virtual classrooms? It varies depending on the topic, on the subject. You will have an expert tutor for every subject. So if I'm an organizational behaviorist, so you'll have me for the OB module, you'll have a finance person for finance, marketing for marketing, etc. And so we all do things slightly different, but I would say in general, these are what we aim to do in these workshops. We try to introduce the key concepts of our subject. We use short case studies, exercises, business games, just so you're not talking all the time or the tutor's just not talking to you all the time. It breaks things up and makes it more interesting and applicable. We demonstrate where to find the resources, where you find books, articles, etc., all of which you find through the university's online library. And importantly, in those workshops, we explain how you successfully complete the assignments. And we have very good student satisfaction with these virtual workshops, over 95%. So they're a very important part of the program. Assessments, all modules are assessed through some form of an assignment. So it might be an essay, a report, a case study, finance, even part of its assessment is a multiple choice quiz, but it's some form of an assignment. There's no exams on this program. Rather, the university's program, the Executive MBA program, prefers to assess people through assignments because it gives people the opportunity to further research and really demonstrate their understanding, rather than exams which are more about how much you can remember. And then that dissertation or the business research project I talked about, that's your big assignment, and that's about 15,000 words. And to do that, you get a supervisor from the university who helps you out. Entry requirements are pretty standard for an MBA program. Usually you have a bachelor's degree and at least 2 years of relevant work experience. But if you don't have the bachelor's degree, if you have at least 5 years of relevant work experience, then that should be fine as a non-standard entry to the EMBA. And when I say relevant, I mean that the applicant can demonstrate managerial responsibilities. So it doesn't necessarily need to have the word manager in your job title. You just need to show management responsibilities, such as planning and organizing work, leading people, controlling work, these types of things. The vast majority of people will find they do these things in their day-to-day job. There's lots and lots of support on the program. There's the University of Northampton's program leader, who also teaches the business research project module. So you'll meet her. There's the local program leader. That's the role that I take. Every tutor, every module rather, as I mentioned, has an expert, has a tutor, expert tutor. You have administration, all of the university's own administration. Plus, we can help you out here locally if you can't find what you're looking for. And the virtual learning environment Northampton uses is a bespoke system called the Northampton Integrated Learning Environment. And every module has one of these sites. And on this site, you will find your module materials, your assignment information, discussion boards, a link to the university's library. It's where you submit your assignments and get your feedback. So all of this is contained within this virtual learning environment called NILE, one for every module you do. And the online library is very extensive at the University of Northampton. It has hundreds of thousands of materials, books, articles, everything you could ever wish to be able to complete your assignments. So just a few final words from me. Why the Northampton MBA? And I say this because I've taught on an awful lot of MBA programs over the years. I've lost count actually how many there would be. But sort of this slide is why I particularly think the Northampton MBA is a good one. Firstly, it's the very competitive price. And please see the Stafford website to make sure you get the latest fees, because they can vary between intakes. So if you go on there, you get the latest fees. It's a very good price for a taught online program. Remember, it's not considered online because you are actually being taught face-to-face and synchronously with your tutor. It's not the type of program where you just go through at your own pace. It is a part-time program. I also think the duration is very good. 18 months is about right for people who are working at the same time as studying. There's lots of support. The workshops and teaching are good, and the assessments are also very relevant as well. And also it strongly emphasizes vocational, which is job learning, as well as the theories. This is attractive to employers who are more interested in practical knowledge and makes studying for the Executive MBA more enjoyable and relevant to students. So you will find some MBA programs can be very theoretical, but the University of Northampton's program, although it doesn't forget theories, it's very much about the actual practice of management, what you can learn to make you a better manager and understand more about business and management around you. Okay, look at that, bang on time, 15 minutes. So now's the interesting bit. That's my key takeaways from the program, if you like. Your details, your academic consultant at Stafford will have given you lots of other details. But let me answer some questions. And the easiest way to do this is if you use that question box and type your questions, and then I can make sure I get to them all. I'm just going to open my box. There we are. So the first question, do you accept exemptions based on extensive managerial work experience? Not for the modules themselves, but not for work experience. It will mean if you have extensive managerial work experience, you're going to meet the criteria to get onto the program, which is great. And that experience will be useful to you in completing the assignments as well and understanding the material, but you won't get exemptions for the modules because of that. Because let's say you've worked in marketing for 20 years. I guarantee if you do the marketing module, you'll still probably learn something you never knew before. So that's an important part of the program. So you wouldn't get module exemptions just because of work experience. I've been informed to submit a personal statement. Why is this important? Yes, the personal statement's important. It just lets the the admissions team rather know that you've really thought about why you want to do the MBA program, the Executive MBA program, and why it's relevant to you. And that's important because we don't want people starting the program and then finding out they really haven't thought about why they're wanting to do it, or it's not the program for them. So it is important just to show that you have thought about how it's going to help you in your future career, why you've chosen it. Can I exit the program at any level I wish? You can. There are 3 levels. Basically, an MBA program, and this is the same for any UK university, is 180 credits long. If you complete 60 credits, which is about 3 or 4 modules, you will, and then you wanted to exit, you would come away with a postgraduate certificate. If you do 120 credits, which is basically everything but the business research project, you would come away with a postgraduate diploma. But the vast majority of people, of course, do complete the full 180 credits and get the MBA. Oh, here's a good question. What is the importance of the Teaching Excellence Framework to this MBA? So as I mentioned, this is the Teaching Excellence Framework is a UK university initiative, UK government rather, initiative to assess the teaching, how good the teaching is at all of the universities in the United Kingdom. And as I said, the Northampton got the gold, and that's very important, and it shows just how strong Northampton is at teaching. And for you guys being on an MBA program, that's important for you. You want people who are really engaging, people you can listen to and understand and learn from. So it is important that the university does have this very good accolade. The next question, what is the difference between the Executive MBA and the Generic MBA? And which one is more recognized? Again, that's a good question. Years ago, the Executive MBA, it all began with simply an MBA, a Master of Business Administration. Then still years ago, but more recently, an Executive MBA was launched, and it was targeted towards the senior managers in an organization, whereas the MBA would be really for any sort of manager in an organization. So it emphasized more strategic types of things and more practice, I suppose. But I think in modern MBAs, the difference isn't quite as stark. It's not supposed to be solely for senior managers, but it certainly is for practicing managers. So the Executive MBA will accentuate the practical aspects of management and also the more strategic aspects of management. Whereas if you do a general MBA, they may not focus on those things quite as much. So if you're working professional, the Executive MBA is the one that would suit you best. Oh, I've got a similar question here from a man down the bottom. Please correct me if I'm wrong, the degree granted will be an Executive MBA. Yes, it will. That will be on your certificate, on your MBA certificate, Executive MBA. So just to finish off that question, if you're a practicing manager, I think the Executive MBA would be more recognized than a Generic MBA. Where was I? Yes, so this question is the MBA very difficult? Well, you know, it's a master's degree, so you can expect that it's going to be challenging, but our completion rates are very good. So if you put in the effort, the chances are very much that you will succeed. It's very much a matter at this level that you put the work in, you will succeed. But it is a master's degree, don't lose sight of that. Do you think I will manage because I have a high position with lots of responsibilities? And how many hours a day must I dedicate? Yes, we have people, everybody on the program works, and they're all in various levels and all different types of organizations. And they, as I say, the vast majority of them complete and they do manage, so you can. But it's really about time management, which leads to your question about how many hours a day must you dedicate. I do ask students this, and I find they tend to say about 8 to 10 hours per week, not per day. That would be a very long day. But if you can set aside 8 to 10 hours per week, then generally that should be about enough. But students say some modules they find they don't have to put as much time in as others, and that depends on what you already know or perhaps where you're working. But use that as a general rule. About 8 hours a week, you should be fine. Next question. Why does this MBA not have AMBA accreditation? AMBA is the Association of MBAs, and is it necessary? AMBA is a private accreditation, and there are many, many private accreditors out there. What I mean by private is they're just organizations that the universities have to pay money to, and then they'll come and audit your MBA or your business school or even your university, and they'll give you a stamp of approval, just like any other quality system. Now, there's a great debate really of what benefit that is for UK universities, because they're already very strictly quality controlled by the UK government, by the Quality Assurance Agency. So whether you need another private stamp on top of that or not is, some matter of debate. And I just tell students, if you think an employer, your employer, or someone in the future is going to ask you, was your MBA AMBA accredited, then maybe it is important. But I think most people find they're probably never going to be asked that question. So, that's something for you to research and have a think about yourself. Are the workshops recorded? Yes, they are, which is your workshops are recorded. So if you can't make the face-to-face, rather the virtual synchronous workshops, you'll be able to watch the recording. But as I said, I do very much recommend that you do get to the synchronous events, the live events, because they are very interesting and you learn a lot. I think that's about it for my questions. Perfect. So some good questions there. If anything does come to you anyway, you're always more than welcome just to drop me an email. And if anything comes to you later. And as I mentioned, it is some time until the next workshop, next intake rather, in November, but it's always best to get application documents and things done as quickly as possible. Make up the decision to get started on the program, get on the program, and then you're all set and ready for November. And I hope to see you on the program. As I say, I do the induction and I teach the Managing an OB module. So hope that I can see you there. So thanks for listening, everyone, and bye for now.